세계적인 베스트셀러 사피엔스의 작가 유발 하라리 만나보겠습니다. 안녕하십니까, 반갑습니다.
Hello.
Welcome.
It's an honor to see you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
여기 한국 처음 방문이라고 들었는데요. 어떠신지?
Well, I'm very much impressed by the immense progress that Korea has made over the last few decades. Compared to most other countries that gained their independence in the 1940s and 1950s, maybe Korea is one of the countries that made the biggest advancement of all. And with such a hard legacy from the Japanese occupation, from the Second World War, and then from the Korean War, and the dissection of the country, the achievement so far is really spectacular.
제가 그 책을 보니까 한국이 그래서 그 인류가 지금 직면하고 있는 기술은 굉장히 발전하는데 사람들이 그만큼 행복해지지 않는 것의 단면을 보여주는 나라다라고 말씀하셨는데 와보시니까 진짜 사람들이 별로 행복해 보이지 않던가요?
Well, I haven't met a lot of the people, so it's very difficult to form an impression. What I said is based mainly on the research that I've read. That in Korea you see a phenomenon which is today widespread all over the world, that as technology improves, the lives of people become more secure and in a way more comfortable, but people are not necessarily becoming happier because life is also becoming much more stressful than before. For example, the mobile phones makes it much more easy to communicate between people, but at the same time, they cause people always to be connected to their work. Even when they come home, the work is still pursuing them home, and they constantly feel the need to check their emails, check their Facebook account, check their messages. So even if you meet a person to talk and relax, they put the cell phone, the mobile phone on the table, and every 5 minutes they have to check, and they are not really with you. So in this sense, technological development is also making life much more stressful. And you see it in the rise in anxiety and psychiatric depression and even suicide. And about Korea, I've read that in the last 20 or 25 years, the rate of suicide has increased dramatically, maybe 3 times, at the same time that prosperity increased.
이 책 제목이 사피엔스인데 원래 제목은 동물에서 신까지라고 들었고요. 그러니까 아주 보잘것없는 남의 그 죽은 짐승 골수나 파먹던 인간이 이제는 신의 경지까지 도전을 하고 있는 그 모습을 담은 것인데 사람이 이제 21세기에는 제일 중요한 생산물이 마음과 몸과 두뇌가 될 것이다라는 걸 제가 봤는데요. 몸까지는 그렇다고 하더라도 마음을 어떻게 창조할 수 있다, 어떻게 생산할 수 있다는 것인지 그걸 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
Yes, as biologists and bioengineers are learning to decipher the human body and the nervous system and the DNA and the brain, it opens the possibility of first engineering and manufacturing the body or bodies, and then also making changes to the brain, and ultimately also making changes to the mind. This, of course, depends on a very big question of what is the mind and what are the relations between the brain and the mind. And this is something that science still doesn't really understand, what is mind and how it is related to brain. But more and more scientists are quite convinced that the link between brain and mind is so tight that by changing the brain, manipulating the brain, you can also manipulate the mind. I can give a few examples of some of things that are already being done today. Today we use drugs and psychiatric medications that change the biochemical balances in the brain, and this result in mental changes, in, for instance, overcoming mental diseases or mental disabilities. Even more advanced, now scientists are beginning to plant electrodes directly to the brain, and by stimulating selectively different parts of the brain, they can turn on and off human emotions, and also, again, use it to overcome various mental illnesses. In Jerusalem, in a hospital, they just pioneered a new treatment for people who suffer from chronic depression. They implant electrodes into a particular part of the brain. They connect these electrodes to a tiny computer which is inserted into the chest, and the computer monitors the electrical patterns in the human brain, and every now and then it gives a pulse to a particular part of the brain, and this changes the patterns of the brain and results in alleviating this problem of depression. And this works quite well in about 50% of the patients. And there was one case when after several months that the patient felt much better, suddenly the depression came back. And the patient thought, oh, this treatment is not working. And he went back to the hospital, he went back to the doctors, and the doctors tried to find out what's wrong. And they discovered that the battery of the computer ran out, so it stopped functioning. And so the depression came back. And immediately they replaced the new battery, it was gone again. So in this way, by changing the human brain, you also change the mental patterns of the human being.
근데 지금 말씀하신 그런 부분이 아주 제한적으로 쓰이는 그 아주 환자들이라든가 그런 경우인데, 이 책에서 하신 윤리 문제를 빼고라도 사람이 권력이라는 문제로만 놓고 보더라도 사실 사람의 마음, 정신은 제일 중요한 사람의 정체성과 관련된 부분인데, 사람들이 그것을 생산물로 대체하도록 그냥 놓아둘 것인가라는 부분은 의문입니다.
Definitely it raises a lot of ethical and political questions. And it's not that it will be free market, anything you want to do, you can do. That's obviously not the case. But when you'll have the possibility to both solve mental problems like depression or schizophrenia and so forth, and to improve normal human abilities like the ability to learn, the ability to remember, the ability to be creative, then there will be immense economic and social pressure to give this a try. And even if one country, if one government forbids such treatments, people will just flock to a different country which offers these treatments. So if you want to have effective regulations of this, and I think that we need effective regulation, we need some kind of global system of regulation, because as long as it's just in each country trying to do it by itself, it would not work. The temptation is simply too great. People always wanted to change the world, and now they have the opportunity to change even themselves. Everybody has something he doesn't or she doesn't like about himself and about his personality or his mind. The temptation for human beings to start changing your body, to start changing even your mental habits, is so great that it will be almost irresistible. I agree with you that it's very, very dangerous. And very often people want things that are really harmful to themselves. But if you just leave it, I think, to market forces, the temptation will be too great. Everybody, almost everybody, want to change themselves too much to withstand this temptation by themselves. Maybe to give one or two more examples. For instance, if you think about the human body, there is today in a consumerist society immense pressure on people to be more beautiful. Like if I'm losing my hair, so something that I grow my hair again. And if I have wrinkles, so something that I'll have smooth skin. And there is immense industry around this and immense pressure on individuals to change your body in this small way. And if you think about mental abilities, there is also immense pressure on individuals to increase their mental abilities, like students at school or in college and university. There is immense competition between the students, and there is pressure from the teacher and pressure from the parents. And if you have some, I don't know, chemical or some treatment that you can study harder, you can focus for longer times, you can remember more. Again, the social and economic pressure on human beings to make use of these potential treatments and medications will be very hard to resist. And of course, this is very dangerous because it could lead people to make changes that look like good changes, but in the long run may actually be harmful and create a worse life, a worse society than existed before. So the attempt to upgrade humans may in fact lead to downgrading humans.
그 말씀하신 마인드, 마음이라는 것이 어떤 사람이 갖고 있는 선에 대한 의지 그리고 사랑 그런 것이 아닐까 생각하는데 얼마 전에 그 작자께서도 언급하신 이세돌하고 알파고의 그 대결에서도 알파고가 이겼는데 알파고는 감정이 없고 사랑이 없기 때문에 그것이 세상을 지배할 수 있는 움직일 수 있는 힘은 안 될 것이다라고 말하는 사람들이 많았고요. 그래서 지금 말씀하신 그렇게 강화된 인간, 인공지능을 탑재하고 뭐 육신의 장기들도 갈아치울 수 있고 한 신에 가까운 인간은 그런 선에 대한 의지와 사랑을 가진 존재일 것인가? 그것이 없다면 과연 어떻게 될 것인가에 대해서 어떻게 생각하십니까?
I think that in all this excitement about artificial intelligence and AlphaGo, you're correct in pointing out that artificial intelligence is not the same as artificial consciousness or artificial awareness. AlphaGo and other AI programs, they have very sophisticated intelligence, which is only increasing, but they have zero consciousness, zero awareness. They have no mind. They have no feelings, no emotions. When AlphaGo played the game, it did not feel anxious. When AlphaGo won, it did not feel joyful. It did not feel anything because it has only intelligence, not consciousness, not mind, not emotions. And this is actually a very unique point in the history of life, because until today, for millions of years, intelligence and consciousness always went together. You could not separate them. The most intelligent beings in the world, not only human beings, but also chimpanzees and dolphins and whales and elephants, all intelligent animals, also had consciousness, also had emotions. And the question, what is more important, consciousness or intelligence, never arose because this is just a theoretical question. Now it is becoming practical because we are seeing the decoupling, the disjoining of consciousness and intelligence. We are developing more and more sophisticated artificial intelligence with no consciousness.
침팬지나 이런 거는 그 말씀하신 그 콘셔스니스하고 인텔리전스는 갖고 있지만 마인드는 없는 거 아닙니까? 제가 지금 물어보려고 한 것은 인공지능에 대한 알파고에 대한 얘기가 아니라 그 사람이 신과 비슷한 존재가 됐을 때 그 신과 같은 존재인 사람이 마인드, 그러니까 선에 대한 의지나 그 사랑이나 그런 것을 가진 존재일 것인가? 그게 없다면 어떻게 될 것인가? 그 부분을 여쭤본 거거든요.
As far as biologists today think, all mammals, not only chimpanzees, even cows and dogs and cats, all mammals have emotions, like the emotion of love between the mother and the offspring is what defines all the kingdom of the mammals. Because among all the mammals, even among cats or among pigs, if there is no emotion of love between the mother and the offspring, then the mother will not give its milk to the offspring and it will die. So some emotions are of course unique to human beings, but at least some emotions and basic emotions like love, like fear, they are common as far as we know to all the mammals. But as for the danger that you point out, I think the main danger is really coming from the economic system. Because the key question is, what does the economy need? Intelligence or consciousness or mind? And in almost all cases, this economic system needs only intelligence. It doesn't need you to feel anything. Like if you are a taxi driver. So the only thing the economy needs from taxi drivers is to bring people from point A to point B as efficiently and cheaply as possible. Until today, only humans with emotions could do it. But now you have self-driving cars that can be better than humans in driving taxis, even though they have no emotions. And the same is true of doctors, and the same is true of teachers and workers. In almost all the jobs, what you really need from the worker is just intelligence, not consciousness. And the danger is that artificial intelligence will therefore push humans out of the job market. It will still not have any love, any consciousness, any emotions, but it will make most humans economically useless. Some scientists believe that you can actually kind of upload human consciousness into a computer, or that you can augment, upgrade the human brain and mind by linking it directly to a computer. If this happens, I don't know. Some people say it cannot be done. Some people say you can do it. It's still too early to judge. If this can be done, then we are not really talking about artificial intelligence against humans as a kind of conflict. We are really talking about a merger, a marriage between humans and computers, between humans and artificial intelligence. They will merge together to form cyborgs, or a new kind of entity, which is partly human, partly computer, or partly organic and partly inorganic. So there is certainly also a possibility of a merger between the two.
그러니까 그렇게 만들어진 존재는 사랑과 선에 대한 의지를 갖고 있느냐?
This is a very big question, which nobody knows the answer. At present, it's just a hypothesis that you can create such a combination. Because at present, we do not understand how the brain produces the mind. The mind is still a big riddle for the science. And so far, we have not managed to create any kind of consciousness or feeling or emotion in computers. Computers first appeared in the 1940s and 1950s. So it's almost 80 years since the beginning of the computer age. And during these 80 years, the intelligence of computers increased immensely. But in terms of consciousness, it remains exactly zero. The most advanced computer today in the world has still zero consciousness, zero emotions, zero feelings. So it's just a hypothesis that one day you may be able to create emotions in a computer, in such an artificial intelligence. We don't have any evidence that this really can be done.
그 책을 통해서 세 가지 질문을 던지셨는데, 우리는 누구인가, 어디에서 왔는가, 그리고 어떻게 이렇게 막대한 힘을 갖게 되는가, 사피엔스가 라는 그 세 가지 질문. 앞에 두 가지에 대한 추론은 제가 책을 읽어보고 오늘 들으니까 알겠습니다. 그런데 마지막 질문, 어떻게 갑자기 사피엔스가 이렇게 큰 힘을 갖게 되는가? BC 7만 년에서 3만 년 사이에 뇌용량이 갑자기 급격하게 늘어났다고 쓰셨던데, 히브리대 교수시고 이스라엘 출신이지만 무신론자라고 제가 들었는데, 거기 어떤 초월적인 존재가 개입했을 가능성에 대해서는 추론하지 않으시는지?
There is a possibility, but there is no evidence. In the world, so many things are possible. Maybe it was genetic mutation. Maybe it was aliens from outer space. Maybe it was some god or some fairy. So many possibilities. Scientists are interested in evidence more than in possibilities. And at present, we don't have any evidence for some kind of supernatural intervention, either at that point in history or at any other point. So scientists discount. They say, okay, maybe, but give us the evidence. We don't have any firm scientific theory to explain what happened to humans about 70,000 years ago. But the wonderful thing about science is that science is not afraid of admitting ignorance. In science, if you don't know something, it's perfectly okay to say, we don't know yet. We are continuing to research. There are many open questions in history. One open question is what made the change 70,000 years ago? And hopefully, like we have managed to answer so many previous questions, maybe in 10 years or 30 years we'll have an answer to this question as well. But at present we just don't know.
저는 그 책을 보면서 거기에 지식의 나무라고 돼 있는 구약 성서에서는 선악과라는 것을 그걸 보면서 구약 성서 창세기에 그 에덴 동산에서 선악과를 따먹은 아담하고 하와한테 하나님이 생명나무 실과는 따먹지 못하도록 하기 위해서 에덴 동산으로 밖으로 내쫓는 그 장면이 떠올랐습니다. 그 사람이 만족할 줄 모르게 되고 그런데 능력은 신과 같게 된 이 사람이 얼마나 위험한 존재인가라고 쓰셨던데 그러면 이 생명나무 실과를 그 말씀하신 생명공학 이런 것들을 따먹지 못하도록 막아야 되는 것 아닙니까?
Yes, it's a very dangerous moment. Humans throughout history proved that we are very, very good in acquiring power, but we usually don't really know what to do with this power, and we are not very good in translating power into happiness. This is why we are much, much more powerful than our ancestors, but we are not much happier. And at this point in time, in the early 21st century, we are really acquiring divine abilities of creation and destruction. But again, we don't really know what we want to do with all this power. And there is a danger that because we don't know how to use it, we will use it badly and cause not only immense suffering and destruction to ourselves, but to the whole world and to all life. So we can't stop this. You cannot just say stop all technological research, stop all scientific progress. It's impossible. But I think that the biggest question in the 21st century is what to do with the new technologies, with biotechnology, with artificial intelligence. All the other questions that people and governments are preoccupied with, the normal political and economic questions, they are far, far less important. And it is quite worrying that at least at present, there is surprisingly little discussion and almost no political discussion about these new technologies. They are a subject for discussion between scientists maybe, but they are not yet a subject for political debates. And I think this is the first step towards being more responsible and taking wiser action to realize that these are actually the most important questions in the world and they should be at the center of political debates.
당신에게 행복은 어떤 것입니까?
What's happiness to me? I think to know who you really are and what is your real place in the world is the key to happiness.
자, 오늘 나와주셔서 말씀해 주셔서 감사하고요. 한국에서의 남은 날들 잘 즐기시기 바랍니다.
Thank you. I enjoyed this very much too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.